Hey guys, Ride, your Chief Espresso Officer here, and today I'm going to talk to you about a question I get asked all the time. Why is my coffee bitter? So I have already answered this question in another video, why is my coffee burnt, bitter or sour? But today I'm going to go into a deep dive and really figure out all the most common reasons why you might be experiencing a bitter coffee at your home or at your cafe. So if you like my content, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell and sign up for YouTube. And if you want to learn more about how to become a better barista, whether you're at home or professional, jump onto my website, ultimatebaristacourse.com, and sign up there. We've got a whole range of different modules and lessons that you can learn about all areas. Anyway, let's get into why is my coffee bitter? Now, without having to have a refractometer and measure all your TDS, the simple rule is you can look at the ratio. Blanket rule is 2 to 1. So that means 2 mils of coffee for every 1 gram of grind. So when you're doing a normal shot, for instance, in our cafe, when we do it, we run a 22.5 basket and we run through about 45 mils of coffee. Now we can pump that up or dial it back a little bit depending on what specific coffee we're using and what flavors we're chasing. But as a general rule, if you put 20 grams of coffee grind into your basket, you're aiming for 40 mils of coffee liquid out to keep that ratio perfectly balanced and not 60 or 70 mils, which would be quite bitter. So if your coffee's too fine and it's not coming through, it's going to cause a burnt, bitter flavor. If you're running your shots too long, they're also going to cause a bitterness in the cup and they will taste quite hollow as well. Different machines have different ways of combating all of those things. So even if you do slightly overdose it or underdose the coffee, the machines will factor that in and help out where they can. Our lovely Espresso machine has a whole different manual process to extract coffee that we control, and we just get the best tasting coffee out of it. Not every home machine has that, so you just have to work with what you've got. There is one way to apparently adjust it. I've never tried this except for right today, is if your coffee tastes bitter, and this is only applying to the espresso shot itself because I don't know what will happen when we add milk, but let's find out. If you add some salt to your espresso, you will apparently eliminate some of that bitterness. But I don't just take everything for granted that I read. I'm going to actually experiment right now and see if we can get the same results as everyone's claiming to reduce bitterness. Okay, so let's test it. Here we have a delicious Sumatran coffee that I know is super sweet because it's a special type of processing which brings out all of the sugars. We have run it overdosed for 53-second extraction. So it should be quite bitter. I'm going to try it first without, add some salt, and we'll see if we can change the dynamic of the flavor. Yeah, that's extremely bitter. I can just, it's just very disgusting in its taste. I'm sorry, that's just not how it's supposed to taste. Let's see if we can make it taste better by adding some table salt. Now, I failed to research how much salt you're supposed to put in here, but I just gave a little bit, probably what I would add a bit more to my dinner, and let's see if that tastes any better. That is so salty. Just gonna make sure I get it off from the rim. Make sure I actually dissolved. That was so salty. Yeah, wasn't bitter anymore. Just tastes like salt. Far too salty. Let's try this again with less salt. Oh, that's terrible. That'll make good content at least. Okay, rookie error. Don't go straight into the coffee with your salt because you don't know how much you're dosing. I'm now going to just take a half a pinch and add that to my espresso. Let's try this. Still quite bitter, so I'm going to add a little bit more. Another half a pinch. Yeah, it definitely tastes better. I don't think it turns it into a perfectly sweet coffee, but absolutely it takes the edge off of the bitterness. I think if I add any more salt, I'm just going to taste salt now, because I can already taste a tiny bit of the saltiness, but it's definitely brought out some of the sweetness. I wouldn't say it would completely fix your espresso. It's not going to turn it into the highest quality espresso you've ever had, but usable. I reckon we could give that a try in some milk, and maybe that would mask some of the other elements in that coffee. Let's give it a try. Yeah, I mean, that certainly, and it's a little bit on the milky side. That's because I drank most of the espresso beforehand, but there's definitely no bitter flavors present. The milk also neutralizes that as well, so that's passable. It's not the greatest. It doesn't have all the super sweetness that I normally would associate with this Sumatran coffee, but definitely passable. So there you go. Learn something new every day. Another reason, pretty much the final reason, and probably the most overlooked reason why your coffee might be tasting bitter is because you haven't cleaned your coffee machine. And I say that because I know a lot of people out there don't even bother cleaning their machine out ever. And this is such a naughty. You have to clean your machine all the time. Leaving a puck in like that will just cause all of your elements, all of the accessories to become rancid with old coffee oils. Even look at the backside of this. This has only had 3 or 4 coffees made through it since we've been filming this shot. And look how dirty it is already. So if you leave your coffee puck in there and you don't clean up underneath the group head, and you don't clean or soak your portafilters, baskets, and even the dispersion screens in chemical, you are going to end up with rancid oils in your coffee. Now, there used to be a myth which a lot of chefs and baristas used, which was to season your baskets, season all of your tools, whether it be a nice cast iron pan or a portafilter. I've been in the industry 20 plus years, and I now know that that is a complete busted myth. Have a look at this portafilter. Look how grimy, dirty, awful that looks when compared to what we now do with our portafilters when we soak them in chemical at least once a week. We do ours daily because we go through that much coffee. This is how we used to use all of our portafilters. And all of that gunk in there just sits there and goes rancid, and those horrible, disgusting flavors will actually come through in your coffee. Now, if you're a home barista, chances are you've never soaked your portafilter into some chemical water overnight. And if you did, you'd be able to clean it all up and get it back to looking something like this. Same again with your dispersion screen. What's a dispersion screen? Well, it's the little screen that sits up underneath in the group head that separates the water into nice little droplets so it evenly goes onto your puck. This sits up inside, and you have to get a little screwdriver or a spoon and just undo that and take that out. Now, I don't know if you can see, this is just one that we've been using literally just for this lesson. And look how dirty it's gotten already in that short amount of time. Maybe 3 shots have been run on it, compared to this one, which are just taken out of soaking. Same goes again for your baskets. One that we've just used, 3 shots, already starting to show stain damage, oil retention, and they're all going to be muddy flavors. That's why we backflush every time we make a coffee that doesn't have milk in it, because you can't mask any of that with the milk and the sugars and the chocolate on top. When you're having an espresso coffee or a long black, where it's just the coffee that's all exposed, naked and bearing all, you need to make sure that you get rid of all of these dirty flavors, because that will cause bitterness in your coffee. And don't forget to clean out your grinder, because that's equally as important as your machine, because old grind will get caught in there, the oils will build up in there, you'll get bits coming into your cup, and that'll create bitterness in your cup at the end result. So make sure you clean that once every 2 weeks at least. Now, you might think, well, I only use my coffee machine once a day, so I don't need to clean it very often. And that's simply not true, because the bacteria in the coffee can actually spread further over an idle machine just because it's hot and it's moist, and it will actually cause bitterness to last there for a longer time. No matter if you're just doing 1 shot per day, make sure you backflush always afterwards, and chemical, you don't have to do it quite as often, but chemical your coffee parts and accessories overnight in soaking chemical water so they get back to their perfect condition. So there you have it. There's at least 5 different ways that you can work on if you're experiencing bitterness in your coffee, whether it be at home or at work. And if you like what you've heard here today, subscribe, hit the bell, sign up and support us to make more videos like this for you wherever you are around the world. I'm Ryan, your Chief Espresso Officer. Enjoy your brew.